Hey friends, I'm really excited to be making this video. I feel like I've been wanting to make it for a long time and today is the day. So essentially I'm here to share a bit about my story and my journey with Graves' disease, which I spoke about a few years ago when I first got diagnosed with it. And I'm happy to say, as of yesterday, I'm in remission. And so I have kind of just been reflecting on the whole story, and I feel like I've told this story a number of times. And so I thought this would be a nice place to share it for my friends and my family who might be interested. And for anyone who stumbles upon this video, I'm going to hashtag the shit out of it so that the right people can find it, who might be recently diagnosed or having their own thyroid journey and might be a little bit scared or uncertain, because I know that I was when I first got diagnosed. So I found some really great uplifting voices when I was first diagnosed, so I would really love to be one of them for anyone out there. So if you don't know Graves' disease, it's an autoimmune condition. It affects your thyroid gland, which lives just here in your throat, and it affects a lot of stuff in your body, metabolism, heart rate, all of the things. Google it. I don't have the list, but it affects a lot in your body. And with Graves' disease, what happens is that your thyroid goes into overdrive, and all of the things that your thyroid functions start to overfunction. So your system gets really hot, really agitated, anxious, fiery. I'll talk a little bit about what led me to getting my diagnosis. But essentially it's body in hyperactive mode. So when I first started feeling things, this is kind of embarrassing because my job is to listen to my body and to get a little bit closer to knowing myself. But my body was sending me signals for a good year before I went and got diagnosed. But the thing that really led me to going to the doctor and seeing if something was going on is that I was having a lot of irritation around my eyes, watering for hours when I woke up. They'd be really sensitive. I would not be able to be sitting in the sunbeam right now when I first got diagnosed because my eyes were just so sensitive. I just need to soak that in for a second. I couldn't sit in sunbeams, which is my favorite pastime. So I'm really grateful to be on this side of things. Anyway. So my eyes were really bugging me, which I later found out checks out because kind of an additional, an add-on to Graves' disease is something called thyroid eye disease, where the antibodies that are attacking your thyroid also attack the tissue behind your eyes. So sometimes people with Graves' disease can have really protruding eyes or swelling around their eyes and face, which I experienced a bit of at the beginning of this whole thing and might still happen, who knows. So that's what led me to the doctor. I was talking about my symptoms. He felt my thyroid and he was like, you seem fine, but he thankfully ran the blood work. And so I went and got my blood work done. And then the next day I went on a trip to New York, but it the damage had already been done. I had been doom scrolling Graves' disease and just reading really sad and scary stories about it. So while I was in New York, the Big Apple, on this sweet solo trip, I would be sitting in coffee shops with these big dark sunglasses, and it was hot. It was August in New York, and it was quite a scene. So I'd just be sobbing in coffee shops, just worried about what was going to happen. So that was my first New York experience. But anyway, I was really nervous and really scared. And so I came home. My doctor was like, yeah, dude, you have Graves'. And then looking back, while I was doom scrolling, I felt so foolish because I said, all of these symptoms were presenting themselves the entire year. I had lost 20 pounds that year, doing nothing, which as a 20-year-old, I was sweet. I didn't have to do anything. I'm just joking. And my hands would tremor, my muscles would spasm. I was so exhausted. I could sleep forever. I would have heart palpitations. I would have panic attacks, standing coherent one moment, sobbing on the ground the next. And to be honest, like at that point in my life, I was drinking a lot of coffee. I'm usually dehydrated, and I was smoking like a lot of weed at that point. So I was pretty disconnected from like what I was really feeling a lot of the time. And so as these symptoms would present themselves to me, I'd just be like, that's weird. I should really stop smoking so much weed, or I should really cut back on my coffee. And I would just kind of leave it at that, even when the panic attacks and stuff were happening. My hair would fall out like crazy. And truthfully, it still does. Thankfully, I have a lot to work with, but it does fall out quite a bit. Ask my shower drain. Actually, ask Jason. I shed a lot more than what I think is normal. But that was something that I really noticed when things started getting worse. And then I would be really warm. Like my body would just run really, really warm, which again, sometimes it does. So there was that. So I came back, and thankfully, like the Canadian healthcare system's like pretty good. I mean, lots to be improved, but pretty good. So I had my blood work done. I got referred to an endocrinologist who specializes in like thyroid-y things. And I mean, I really appreciate the work that my doctors did for me. They were always really willing to entertain my like self-help attempts, but I really wanted the medication. I wanted to stop having heart palpitations. Like I would be sitting here doing nothing and my heart rate would be like 140 beats per minute, which just isn't sustainable. So I was really grateful that I could get on the medication right away. My symptoms started quelling right away. And yeah, that is just symptom management. And I think a lot of people with autoimmune conditions or whatever conditions, really, there's a point for most people, I think, where they're just like, what is the root cause of this? Like what, like underlying bacteria or what like inner dialogue or what childhood trauma is like made this happen, which I definitely was all about at the beginning. And I really value that. And I think there's a time and a place for it, as well as there being a time and a place for symptom management. So I liked that I got to entertain both sides of things. The land of both and is where I like to reside. And so what did I do? After I got diagnosed officially, like Facebook official, I have Graves' disease, I'm on my medication, I was lucky enough to go to Costa Rica in a town that I'm pretty familiar with. So I was in Nosara for like a month. I got to like work from there for the month. And I met a woman there who also had Graves' disease, and she was in remission at that point. She actually had to have most of her thyroid removed. There's a couple ways that you can treat Graves' disease. Some of the more intense ones are surgery to remove the thyroid and then take like an artificial thyroid hormone because your body needs it. Another one, which I was like pretty not into, honestly, was to drink radioactive iodine. It's like this radioactive cocktail that like basically kills your thyroid gland. You have to be in quarantine for a few days because you're literally radioactive. Anyway, I just didn't think I was there yet. I'm like, let's try some things. Let's try the meds. Let's try like some lifestyle changes, all of that stuff first. So she had the surgery. She was lucky enough to like move to Costa Rica and completely shift her lifestyle. And that really worked for her. That worked for her stress levels, and like some of her root causes were like the lifestyle she was living previously. But one thing that she had mentioned to me, which like got me, was she called out my like any wounds or any work I had to do around my throat chakra. So if you're not familiar, your throat chakra is like an energy center in your body that lives in your throat. And it's like in a nutshell associated with communication. And so she's like, yeah, take your meds, like maybe like try to change your diet and your lifestyle and don't use Lysol and all that stuff. But if you're holding on to secrets, if you're not speaking like honestly or truthfully about stuff that you need to speak honestly and truthfully about, like energetically, that's going to feel cluttered. And she's like, and that might be your root cause. And I mean, I take everything with a bit of a grain of salt, but I was like, ooh, that does really feel resonant. So I had to go home and I had to have some really hard conversations and release all of that stuff, which I mean opened up things in ways that I could never have even imagined. That's like a whole other story, but I digress. So there was that. There was the energetic side of things. I took my medicine. That really, really helped. One thing that I found really interesting was when I first got diagnosed and once I started to feel better, I was like, okay, I'm going to be like one of those people who gets a little bit sick and then like totally turns their life around and becomes like a completely clean, holistic, ice bathing, intermittent fasting, turmeric snorting, like I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna heal. I'm like totally gonna heal my shit. And then when I started doing all of those things, this is just me. I know that stuff works for a lot of people. But once I started going like really, really heavy into that and not allowing anything like bad into my sphere, it stressed me out so much more and all of my symptoms started exploding. So this like quiet little voice was like, yo, you just need to like let yourself be. Like if you have gluten, or if you like use a shitty cleaning substance, or if you like, I don't know, you know, just all the things that we don't allow ourselves to do because we're trying to be like the best versions of ourselves. It was like this little voice was just like, you are fine and you need to stop trying to improve yourself and you just need to like let yourself be who you are as you are, which again is like a bigger conversation. But essentially what I think was the most healing was just like my body like screaming at me that I need to do less, which is so funny because Graves' disease like is described as like it's hyperthyroidism. It's like your body's like leaned into this space of overdoing. So I feel like intuitively the response should be like, okay, well, I need to like do less. If I try to do more to fix this like doing more-ness in my body, it's just more fire. It's more fuel to the flame. So I just like stopped. I just let myself be. I stopped trying to plan every moment of my life. I stopped trying to be the best version of myself and somehow stumbled into a version of myself that I'm pretty okay with. And then I came back and the rest of my story is pretty boring. I mean, COVID happened pretty quickly after that, so I did get the opportunity to do a lot less, to just be really simple and really slow and sleep a lot and heal and rest and be taken care of. I took my medicine. I worked with a naturopath for a little while. I really valued both. I was in school, had some hiccups. My symptoms would go up and down. But I mean, the trajectory was pretty simple. I like took my meds. I was nice to myself. I tried to simplify, and then I felt better. And so I like over the years, I tapered my medication down. About a year ago, my endocrinologist was like, do you want to try not taking meds and just see what happens? And I was like, okay. And so we did, and I did my blood work, and then nothing happened, and then nothing happened. And some days when I'm really, really warm, or when my eyes feel really puffy, or my throat feels like swollen or stiff in like the muscles at the front of my neck, I try to take all of those as like little invitations or reminders from my body to be like, chill out, do less. So I'm really grateful for like relearning that language, because I think I knew it for a while and then I somehow forgot it along the way. And so that's I guess about it in a nutshell. Time and a place for symptom management. No shame in your game. Feel better as soon as you can feel better. Maybe be a little bit curious about like root cause, or because I think that's a really beautiful journey that you can go down, whether that's looking at tangible health or more like emotional or energetic inquiries that you may have. I think they all work together. I don't think one is like the hard and fast answer. And I guess maybe what I'll leave you with is a reminder that when a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly, and I'm telling you this because the thyroid gland is shaped like a butterfly, and a lot of the symbolism is tied into the metamorphosis. And anyway, when a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly and it goes into its little cocoon home, if you didn't know this is going to be exciting. It doesn't just like change its outfit and like take a nap and then come out a butterfly. It like literally dissolves into goo, like total beautiful. I imagine it as like effervescent, like shimmery goo. And then it remolds or metamorphosizes into a butterfly. And so if you're in the goo stage, keep going or just keep resting. And know that like you've probably heard, healing's not linear. You're gonna have really, really good days. You're gonna have really, really shitty days. and you will learn along the way so much about yourself. Try not to compare your experience with that of like influencers on the internet. I did that. That's not fun. Don't Google doom scroll, and just be in the goo of it, and you're going to be okay. And if you have any questions, I'd love to chat about it a little bit more. And thanks for listening, and have a great day.